Good evening, everybody.
Hey, what's going on? This is Weirdos at Home. This is my wonderful co-host, the Unflappable Tara Brown. Do we still say that?
Sure, I'll take it.
It was like a football season only thing from
No, we're gonna keep it going. Legacy stuff. Let's go.
Okay, we'll make it stick. My name is Sam Slade. You may have seen me tonight on the walker. I bet you did it because I got cut out. But we've got a great guest, a very interesting dude, very funny dude who we're excited to talk to tonight. He's in LA now. He's originally from Austin. He came back, did some of the Lord's work over the pandemic. We'll let him talk about that. Getting a new room set up in Austin. Not easy to do, but let's hear it. Rob Morris is here.
Yeah.
He's also a TV producer. I mean, what doesn't the guy?
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
What's up, man? Hey, so how long have you, has it been? I know you've recently left Austin. How long have you been out of town?
Just a few weeks. I left in the middle of November, and it's just the second day of December now, so it's just been after the holidays. But it's been good. I mean, it's nice to be back. I like LA a lot, so I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Austin is a very different place. You grew up here, right?
Yeah, so I was born in Dallas. I lived there for that period of your life that you don't remember anything, and then I moved. So you get it.
Yeah.
We moved very briefly to our family's farm. On my dad's side, we've had a family farm for a really long time. We lived there for about 20 minutes, and me and my mom were like, we're not doing this. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to our family, is living on this farm. Like 45 minutes from Walmart, just like out there.
Yeah, that's a long way in Texas.
So we moved to Austin in 1996, and I was there all the way through high school and everything until
high school, man.
I went to McNeil High School for 2 years.
So did I.
Word up, freshman, sophomore. I would have been in class of 2006 over there.
Little younger.
03 over here.
Word up. Yeah, you would have been my senior, right? When I was a freshman.
I guess so. I guess we were in the same place at the same time.
We were there. It
Yeah,
happened.
would have been the Parker Posey all throwing the cigarette butt at Rob over here trying to get in class.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So
that was you.
Like yearbook and newspaper. So I was a very up my own ass type of person back then.
I took journalism there with what was that lady's name?
Teresa
I did the sophomore
Proctor.
year. Yeah, Proctor. And on your schedule, when you got her as a teacher, it just said the Proctor, which was really scary.
Yes, we had our senior class had like a jacket monogrammed for her when we graduated that said the Proctor.
She's a super cool lady. So obviously I remember her. Yeah.
She's like my favorite teacher of all time.
What made her so badass, you guys?
For me, she treated us kind of almost like adults to her.
Cool
sometimes
teacher.
that worked out for her, sometimes it didn't because we weren't adults. But she was very just kind of like hands off.
The cool hippie teacher.
Letting you kind of do your own thing, because I know for sure she's teaching journalism to high school kids. Like I'm sure she's just like,
oh shit, all right.
I'm not trying to stand up here and teach y'all anything.
Tara's 100% right. Any teacher that treated you like an adult was the coolest teacher in the world, and you were just like, there's something about them. I don't know. I mean, it's just that they treated you with dignity.
They're just different. I don't know.
It's a wonder who you remember in your life as a positive influence when they treat you with just basic dignity.
Right.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
I'll have to tag her in this. I still keep in touch with her from time to time. So
please do. There's no way she remembers me, but that would be cool.
So funny. Oh, that's so cool. Small world.
Well, hot damn.
And then I went to Pflugerville High School, is where I graduated from.
Nice.
There you go.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers. All right. I'm out of questions. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
It's great.
This was fun.
Hey, Rob, what do you miss about Austin? Because I know Austin's going through a real tough time right now on a lot of levels. I know we've even considered making the move out on the last chopper. We missed yours. Thanks for the heads up, bro.
Yeah, there was not a lot on it. It was a Spirit situation, and
oh my god.
which they just started doing choppers. It goes to Burbank, which is nice, but we don't do well in the choppers in Southern California. I don't know if you keep up with the news. But it's a place where people are really hot on don't tell me what to do, and that is like one of my core principles everywhere I go. I'm pretty big on that. Like, even as I've traveled and I've lived everywhere, I've spent a good amount of time in New York City. I lived in North Carolina for like 6 or 7 years, and now I've been in California here now for 5 years. I've been all over, and nobody does don't tell me what to do like fucking Texas. That's amazing.
It's true.
I've got a theory that's why we're not beating the pandemic right now.
Of course.
We're like, what'd you say? What'd you say?
It is one of the costs of it for sure. And I think we saw that go down, but at the same time, I don't know. I see a lot of the stuff that we did as far as live events and being able to have a fair amount of people indoors starting last November.
Yeah.
And I can't say for a fact that I know that like nobody ever got COVID at a show or no comic got it. I can't, but to my knowledge, nobody ever was like, yep, at that thing, we had a problem. Not once in all this time. And we started with a really safe, procedure, and we lightened up over time.
Well, hey, Rob, real quick, let's just unpack that a minute, because a lot of folks,
sure.
You started a comedy room in Austin called the Romo Room. And
that's right.
I don't know how many folks know that, but it's still around. You've taken a step back since you've made the escape out to the West Coast.
Escape to LA.
Very nice.
Kurt Russell. Oh, Snake Plissken.
As that sentence was ramping up, I was hoping someone would grab that. That worked out great.
She's sneaky like Joe Dumars. But you started a room, and you. So I remember it first coming on my radar right before the pandemic. Is that right? And then
that's right.
And then it hit, and boy, you guys, it says a lot, because there's a lot of clubs in a lot of comedy rooms and venues, just period, in Austin that did not fucking make it.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I mean, Rob, that's something to be proud of, dude. What was it that how'd you guys navigate that? I know you were day to day.
Yeah, I would say it's actually a simpler answer than maybe is expected. It's two things, luck and dedication. And the luck was, we were in a contract, in a lease, in a building that was above a jiu-jitsu studio, like next to a doctor's office behind a Target.
Yeah.
And we were just an open mic place. That's what we were starting to do. And then we started to have shows. We had one show where like Israel Garcia headlined on March 15th, which was like right when everybody was like, we're done. And so it was our last thing. And we would just kind of started to figure it out, because the whole genesis of that room was it was going to be a pay to play mic like they were doing in LA and New York. And Austin was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And I was like, all right, one day you'll do it, but you're not ready. Right. That's fine. And we pivoted to, okay, well, we still want to have the model, because we believe that there is volume in Austin with comedians, even before Joe Rogan, before everything happened.
Thank you. Before Joe Rogan and the Noah's Ark of mediocrity came to town. Excuse me.
Well, and I like
alt-right mediocrity came to town. I'm not right. It's fine. I'll say it. It's fine. I'm sorry.
You could say it. I don't know if I quite agree, but I understand where you're coming from.
Well, no, I'm not saying Joe, and I'm saying a lot of people followed him there. And
sure. There's a fair amount of audience there. I'd agree with that.
You're gonna be president someday, Rob. I'm telling you right now.
I honestly, if he wanted the job, it wouldn't be too hard.
No,
I don't think.
Rob. I said you're going to be president someday. With
I am.
Yes, landslide.
Why do you say that?
Because you're very, very charming on camera. You make great first impression. You obviously know how to run a successful business. Tara's looking at me.
I appreciate that.
But I'm telling you, we're going to get you elected. We're going to get you elected. We're going to the top, Rob Morris.
I know.
Okay,
I'm like,
got
do
it.
I need to leave? Is this like a...
Don't come in here.
No, I'm feeling it. I don't know if it's just the glasses, but I'm feeling it.
Could be.
The glasses and the blue hats.
I'm like Rob's big
Um,
brother that didn't graduate high school is what I look like. Okay, so you guys are trying to keep this room open. It's the middle of the pandemic.
Right. So the luck and the dedication thing. So we were in this room. They had an electrical problem in the building unrelated to everything. So we ended up out of our lease. We took everything we owned and put it in storage over the summer when everything was really in lockdown. And we did podcasts like everybody else. We were trying to figure out different shows to do. We were watching marble racing and doing all kinds of crazy shit. And then my buddy Pat Bernard, who's the manager of the Romo Room, a great comic, really solid dude. Honestly, one of my best friends. He's going to be in my wedding party. Pat's the man. So we do this show in October of last year with Sam Butler headlining, and we produce it downtown at the venue, that other EDM club that's like right by Vulcan and stuff. And it's an outdoor venue. So this is October. We're like, this will be fine. We'll put the tables fucking 10 feet apart, open air. So we do the show, went pretty good. It was pretty full. It's like Lando Shepherd and a bunch of other, local cats. And so we had a great show. We're thinking of continuing to do it there at first, which is so funny because Vulcan popped right after that. And we were like, maybe, but I'm from Austin. I'm really from Round Rock. I am not a downtown kid. I don't like downtown almost anywhere. I live in LA. I love living in Glendale. I love being right outside the city. I'm not a downtown cat.
I will say this, Rob, I have to say this. I always prided myself. You've been in a lot of major cities with me. I've always prided myself about being a downtown kid, but Austin is out a place where I don't think I'm a downtown kid anymore.
I'm a suburban kid, and so are you now.
I don't, man.
Which is why I love that the Romo Room is in the Domain.
It's across the street from us.
Yeah. And so it's not far from where the original room was. We were off Olin Road, which is a little closer to the old Cap City, ironically. And now so Pat lives right by the Domain, and he goes there all the time. And he walked into the Brass Tap and talked to the manager there and was like, do you guys want to do a comedy show? They had this back room that was kind of set up like a barcade, and they had a bunch of machines back there. But it was shut down for the pandemic because they were mostly using it for private events and they weren't able to book private events. So they were like, let's do a comedy show. We did and I'll say this now, I've apologized for it since then, a not safe comedy show in November of last year. I wasn't actually there. I was here in LA working on Dancing with the Stars, like 29 or whatever season that was.
We're going to get to all that.
So I was here working and I couldn't be for the show, but Pat produced it. And, they tried to social distance, but people were so hungry to go to a thing.
Yeah.
The door sales were insane. And we were like, we don't want to tell people no. We had to tell some people no, but we pushed away very few people and it was very, very full.
And like Rob, like you said, keep in mind, this is Austin, the capital city of not only Texas, but don't tell me what the fuck to do. Right?
Yeah. We almost were like, we're gonna have to tell people to wear their masks, and like that was
we're gonna have to tell
tiptoeing around that. Yeah, for sure. And this is all pre-vaccine that we were all just trying to figure out how do we do it and still do it without any help. So yeah, we did that show. That show went very well. And when I was talking to Pat on the phone, and when we had talked at the venue show, I said, I really want to get a big headliner. I know that's not something that we set out to do originally, but fuck it. Look at this weird world we're in. Let's do it.
Right.
And he calls me. I remember I was walking in the parking lot of Target here in Glendale, and he calls me and he goes, I solved our celebrity headliner problem. And I was like, okay, thinking he's got somebody that's okay lined up,
right,
and they haven't said yes or whatever. And he goes, Mark Normand. I was like, fuck you.
Hey, Mark Normand's been on this show.
I love Mark.
He's the best.
He's the man.
The best.
We made him a deal. He came down and did 4 shows in 2 nights with us.
Dude, when was that? That might have been when he was on our show when he was over Zoom. Was it like spring last year?
No, it was even before that. It was December. We did that with him like December 14th.
No, okay.
He came back. He came back and played San Antonio and Vulcan and a couple things in the spring. But we had him We got him in December. And this was what was crazy. The weekend that we booked him was the first weekend that Joe Rogan and Dave Chapelle announced their Stubbs thing.
Right.
Mhm.
And they were doing a super social distance Big J Okerson show at the
Yeah.
Paramount. So we thought we're ahead of this shit.
Yeah.
And then it all piled up on the same weekend. And we were like struggling to pay Mark to, because we're like, hey, we're trying to get people in.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, he was like, you don't have to tell my agent about this. And so
Mark's a good guy. Yeah.
we were keeping it as full as we possibly could with it still being safe. We had a great show and it rolled into that. And before you know it, the back room of the Brass Tap became the Romo Room. It has shows every weekend. And
So I guess the moral of the story is just sometimes Mark Norman just saves you.
That's right.
The saint, Mark.
That's right.
Mark.
I mean, it's not a secret. You're not a huge fan of Mark's of his brand of comedy, if you will.
Hit or miss for me.
I understand. For me, I think I'm with
You
Rob,
love it.
where I'm like, let's pay him to come visit us.
That's a very good impression of me.
That wasn't you. That was, hey, I'm reading for a different character, a whole other character that gets cut out of a different show nobody watches. To change the subject, speaking of shows people
I
do
had
watch.
some things to say about Romo Room.
Oh, yeah,
I
go
wanna
ahead.
dig in deeper with that.
I'm trying to get to.
Isn't it funny though? I just feel like Austin is the type of town that story would happen in. Like for a long time, we've been kind of unassuming, but there's a lot of like big names, comedy, music, even like film and
Mick
TV
Jagger
that just like
rolls through
wander
the Breakfast
around
Club,
Austin all the time. And to hit them at like the right moment with the right time and the circumstances and it all to just pan out like that.
Yeah.
It's such an Austin story to me, I think. I don't know about you guys.
It is. And no, I think you're absolutely right. When I said I'm going to move from LA to Austin in 2019 to do stand-up and podcasting stuff, everyone was like, you're an idiot. And then 6 months later, everyone was like, Joe Rogan is so smart.
Yeah.
And then, but understand that I also have to say, like, he is the reason, not alone, but he is a huge part of the reason of why the culture of Austin comedy will finally change the way that, and this is from talking to people that I've booked over the last year, like huge comics have played the whole world, who I've gotten a sense of where Austin lives in comedy from talking to them. And I didn't really know that as well before. And after talking to them about that, I've found that what Austin has always needed to pop to be a new comedy town is you need huge TV famous headliners that live in town and they're not going anywhere.
And we've never had
a house.
We've never had that. Yeah.
Correct. And now that's happened at the very least with Joe, Tom, Christina, and Tony.
Tom, Christina, and what they're doing, bringing Bert to town every week.
Exactly. They're flying in the economy of comedy.
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Rob, I don't want you to get me wrong because I know we don't know each other well, but I was like when we met many moons ago, I was Joe Rogan every day, was I not? I mean, I was fucking, I got the 19-year-old.
He's gone through a journey in the past year. I can say what I've got to say is a complicated relationship and we're figuring it out still.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear to the future president of the United States over here that I support everything Joe does with comedy. It's when he starts talking about stuff outside of comedy is where I get a little frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I mean, so
part of me though, it's like I don't agree with everything that he says, but I also feel like everyone needs to have an open eyes to like who Joe Rogan is. Like he's been uber famous and making lots of money for not 5 years. We're talking like 20 plus years.
I'm pretty sure he's going to be President Camacho.
So for us,
you got big shoes to fill, buddy.
For us to like paint him in some way where he can relate to kind of the everyman still, I think that's a little bit.
It's crazy to think he can't.
Yeah, I just think that he's made a lot of money. He enjoys the lifestyle that he can afford himself.
Hey.
And sometimes that makes you sound a little out of touch and a little extreme.
Rob, I want to ask you about this. What is your take as a guy who started a successful comedy room in a city that's booming with comedy? What are your thoughts about the Chapelle deal before we get into all the fun stuff that Tara's dying to talk about? Because this is right now, this is like my crusade. Tara would say, I said the Inquisition. So, tell me what you're saying about the Chapelle deal, man.
Sure, absolutely. I feel a few different things about it. I will say that before I was in comedy and before I was in TV, the bulk of my training, education, interest in all of this entertainment shit came from theater. I did theater for the longest time. And then I went to, and I don't like to say this very often, only reference it because it's poignant, a really high scale conservatory for college where theater was treated maybe too preciously. And
where'd you go, Rob?
I went to North Carolina School of the Arts.
Yeah.
So
dude, be proud of that. Don't be
like,
dude, that's
it sounds super pretentious as soon as you're like, Juilliard of the South and shit, they like to call themselves, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying, but I didn't do that. I'm starting over here. No, but like I said, it's like a 60, 70 hour week conservatory of theater, and you're not doing a bunch of math and science classes in between. You do it all day long. And I have spent maybe too much of my life studying what it means to be an artist, what it means to create things, and what it means to have the vulnerability and the cultural and societal platform to speak and to create freely is not something that historically has always been afforded to most people. In fact, it's super rare. And so for me, and this goes to everything I make, from stand-up club I run to the TV shows I produce and everything, I always start with backing the artist and what they're trying to do, whether it works, whether you like it, whether it makes sense, whether it's fair, whether it incites things, whether it inspires things. And I'm not saying it's all free game all the time. I'm not. I'm just saying I start there and I go, is there a way that we can start with that freedom and have the conversation from that benefit of the doubt? With that being said, I also am like a diehard, oh my God, my whole life, Dave Chapelle stand-up fan. Like forever, like since I was a little kid, and I'm a stand-up nerd. I was listening to stuff when I was 5 years old that I didn't even understand until I was 20 years old.
But you knew people were laughing when you heard it. So you're like, do that. Let's try to do that.
And I've heard, and once I, especially once I got into stand-up when I was a teenager, you start looking for your punk stand-up, your rebel stand-up. You're like, what are the things that people are saying that are get banned and shit? And so having dug through a lot of that, having seen a lot of performance art and theater pieces in my life, that I'm like, if this had left this room, that person, it's over forever. But it didn't leave that room. They had the room to make that mistake. We talked about it in class the next day.
Or it's the canyon.
And then it was
it's the gym, right? Like,
exactly. And so I land on that mostly. That's mostly my answer. I feel like the way that he handled the Duke Ellington School of the Arts thing of the theater.
That was so classy.
Perfect. He said, let him decide. And then the school, even more classy, was like, no, thank you for your donations. Continue to donate if you'd like, but we're going to stick to it because it was this lady's dying wish. And she worked her ass off for this school. And if that's what she wanted, and enough people are inspired by this person, I think that's where I land. And I also, I tend to trust a lot of the comedians that have come out and said, I've known this guy as a person for 40 years.
Yeah.
And you may not get his jokes or you may not like his art, but this is not a hateful man. When Jon Stewart says that, I'm like, you're telling me Jon Stewart's full of shit?
The whole country's going like, I'm sorry. Who? Oh, wait,
like, I don't know him personally. I can't speak to that. But all of these people build a hell of an argument. You add that to he's an artist making art.
Right. And it's, I mean, I would love to hear what you think about this, because I know we're not completely in the same stripe on this.
No. Well, first of all, Rob, wonderfully put. Like that summed it up pretty much.
Yeah, 4 more years. 4 more years.
A lot of people are angry and frustrated about this on both sides, and I feel like what Rob just said is an easy way to explain it to everyone that we're
without getting anybody but hurt.
No one is upset,
right.
but I have to lean on the agreed side. I mean, I'm first and foremost, like, I'm a big advocate for LGBTQ plus rights. Like, you know that. Anyone that's watched this show knows that. And never would I ever want to like stand behind someone that's like purposefully putting hate out. However,
Mark Norman didn't even mean the things
from the
he
day
called me.
we met, or very quickly when we started seeing each other, like I told you in some random conversation, like my personal view is that comedians are there to entertain, to share sociological observations about the world around them, and do it in an amusing, funny way that you can relate to.
Once they get off stage, that's it.
They're not doing TED Talks. This is not,
that's right.
Exclusive interview.
It's not have Smiley.
Let's see what this leader in the community has to say about this, because that's not what it's about. And so I just feel like putting a lens on a comedian that's not their place or job to commentate, factually on these things. Like I think people need to understand that there's like a scope.
I mean, Rob is another stand-up nerd who grew up here in town. Don't you think when you found comedians who could actually like land a great social point or political point, you were like, well, that's just a bonus? As opposed to like expecting it. I'm not trying to lead the witness or anything. I'm just saying, like, well, when I was a kid, you didn't expect, like, nobody was going to stick this social. There were a few who did. Carlin Pryor, rock.
Of course, there's always been comedians that want to,
but Jim Carrey wasn't
purposely push that issue, and that's part of their comedy.
Hicks,
but when Dave does a TED Talk, that's when I'll shift my focus over to, if he does like a talk about LGBTQ plus rights as a like
Rob and I will be front row,
then I will start to view him in that scope. But as of right now, he's still Dave Chapelle.
The greatest,
successful comedian, voice of our generation in time.
The GOAT.
So I support Dave.
All right.
Absolutely. It sounds like we're mostly all on the same page.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. I definitely didn't mean to. I still have Half Baked on VHS, you people. I want you to.
No, I was always a big Blue Streak guy, if we're talking that era.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite Dave Chappelle performances.
I am a hardcore Robin Hood Men in Tights fan.
Yes.
Love.
Definitely everyone's first exposure if you're a comedy.
The little backwards baseball cat, like Robin.
That was the thing that Dave made in the 90s that you could see when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff he made, depending on how old you were, you might not have been able to get a hold of it yet. But I was watching Killing Him Softly when I was like 11 or something, probably.
So how old are you? You might be my brother's age, but I remember my brother showing him. We watched it opening night on HBO. So I guess parents were out of town. We watched Killing Him Softly, and every joke killed.
Oh man,
it's tremendous.
The fact that it kills at the time with a 17-year-old and an 11-year-old and a 45-year-old, and like that set it all communities, the way Pryor was, the way Carlin.
Well, and like they say, one of the main thing they say about Dave is people talk about his career is that he was good at it right away. He was like 14. He was in clubs when he shouldn't have been, and all the older guys were like, you shouldn't. It's not fair. You shouldn't be this good already. And it's like, so we're really going to let this guy not do that thing that he's been blessed with, whether you like it or not, one way or another.
And
like,
Rob, you know what?
You got to at least let him make.
I think why he breaks the system on that deal is because if you don't let Dave do it anymore, he doesn't give a fuck. So how is that a punishment? Like, if it's somebody who gives a fuck, like Tiger Woods retiring, everybody's like, ooh, yeah. But Dave's
he's like Daredevil. He's got nothing to lose.
Okay, I got all my, I wanted to talk to Rob about deep cultural, societal comedy stuff out of the
Stuff
way.
that matters.
Now let's do the real stuff. That Rob is actually, folks who don't know, is a television producer. I think that might be the first real producer we've had on who isn't somebody getting a producing credit, like you know.
Yeah.
So, Tara.
Oh, so
lead us
excited.
down this rabbit hole.
So, what shows either have you worked on or are you currently working on?
Sure. So I work in the unscripted reality TV business. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
The show that I've put the most hours into is Dancing with the Stars. I've done 6 seasons with them.
Wow.
I am currently working on 90 Day Fiance Pillow Talk, which is the show where the cast members watch and react to the 90 Day franchise afterwards. And yeah, it's a great job. It's really fun. I had never, this is true for every show I've ever worked on in reality TV, but very few exceptions. I've never seen it. I'd like heard of it. That was true of Dancing with the Stars. That was true of 90 Day Fiance, Big Brother, all the shows I've worked on. I was like, hey, I got a call and they're like, do you want to work on So You Think You Can Dance? And I was like, yeah, I like dance. I've worked on some other, okay, sure. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, this is like a 15 season legacy of there's characters and arcs and these people came back and now they're judges and then I had no idea that 90 Day was as expansive as it was. It blew my mind. I knew it was a show. I knew the premise. I didn't really understand the style of it. But then I had no idea that they had so many spin-offs and side series and oh my goodness, there's so much out there. So if it's your thing, you never have to stop watching it. I think that's their goal.
And I think that's the challenge that we've accepted here in our home is because he'd never heard of it until he and I started seeing each other.
Well,
and
then when you've run out
once
of stuff
the pandemic hit and we were together just sitting around all the time, I was like, let me introduce you to this little show. I gave him a free sample sniff and he was in.
I'm only a year in.
Now,
not even.
There are days where we'll be sitting around and he's like, is there a new 90 Day we can watch? Like,
it's bad, Rob.
So he had a very crash course into the characters, the storylines, returning, stories and things like that.
It's better than anything Kathleen Kennedy is doing with Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
For my money.
But I won't assault you with questions about the cast because I like to keep that a mystery.
Okay.
And I only know so many of them.
But I'm a big reality TV fan, and I've never had the opportunity to ask someone that's actually there on the day about how that all goes down. So specifically with 90 Day Fiance, and you may not know this, I don't know.
By the way, Rob, a lot of these questions have been submitted by people in Tara's 90 Day Facebook groups.
So,
okay.
I have a whole army behind me.
I don't want to disappoint. And I said before we started rolling, it's like it is NDA stuff.
Yeah.
There's only so much I can say about how we do it and what happens, but I'll do my best.
But I think
and feel free to just be like,
well, of course you will.
Can't comment.
We're all
I tried to keep them very basic reality based.
Nobody's
questions.
on the stand here.
So with casting on that is when you were first, let's say the first season you worked on 90 Day, were you aware of how much they had to weed through to find this cast? Or was it mostly
you only get to see what you need to see?
So you're given what you're given on day
one.
Well,
I have a specific angle on this because I only work on Pillow Talk. So I've never worked on the regular parent shows like 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way, Happily Ever After. I'm not on the ground on set for that. I produce the Pillow Talk show remotely. So we shoot it on set with cameras, but I'm not physically on set when we shoot. I do it through this.
That will affect the rest of my questions. Okay, so this was just the one random one I had earlier.
Rob, thank you for being so cool. You're nerding out.
I know, I'm nerding out big time because I see some of these, and even with Pillow Talk, on the is this their actual homes that they're doing it in? They're doing Pillow Talk from their home?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Was that not?
Do they have help with set decoration, or is this like y'all show up and it's as
Some of
is?
this is so inside baseball. Wow.
That I can't answer.
Okay.
Smart move, Rob. Smart move.
Okay, man. Do they know ahead of time what they're watching to comment on?
Like,
Yeah, they watch the shows. They all watch all the
I
shows.
was wondering if
pretty
they're
much.
writing their lines, if the reactions are
Yeah.
scripted, is what you're wondering.
Which I don't think he could probably answer.
You can't answer that.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? In a fun way, what do you guys enjoy the most about that kind of television? I mean, you love it, and you would probably.
Here's the thing, I love
Let's
it,
do
but as
producers.
I can picture myself actually there or having to work with these people, and then I don't think I would love it as much.
So you're telling it takes a strong man to be able to handle these personalities. Somebody like Rob
I'm
Morris over here.
thinking, yeah.
No, there are far fewer male producers in
Really?
far fewer.
Wow.
Absolutely. I think I'm currently the only male Pillow Talk producer across all the shows.
Wow.
I think I'm the only one.
Wow.
Dude.
There are men within the production staff. My boss is a guy. There are also bosses who are women, but like reality in general often leans toward, and this is just my observation. I have no numbers on this at all, but women and gay men populate a lot more of the production staff than straight men in this particular. And I don't even just mean 90 Day. I mean the competition shows, all over the place. My boss is a straight guy, but it's just like we're not the bulk. If you join a team, odds are it's going to be mostly, not completely, but mostly women and gay men, just in my experience. And maybe that's just the shows I've been on. But especially a lot of the drama shows. I don't have any idea what conclusion to draw from that, honestly. But it's like the shows where it's about people's relationships, having arguments, Housewives. When I worked on that show, it was like, the Brits. The Brits do reality TV like nobody's business.
They do it next level. It's a different sport. It's
there's Brits all from edit to producer to EP they are a huge part of reality TV.
Rob, I want you to rest assured knowing no one is acting on the set of Walker. Don't you worry about that. Okay?
I know. Right.
Okay,
before
good.
On this interview, we were watching. For those
I
that don't know,
backlogged a bunch.
you appear in the new Walker reboot, and we watched the episodes tonight to see if you were there. You were in the background. I saw you.
There was proof I was there. I have an alibi, but all the stuff I thought was going to make it got cut.
Yeah.
So I feel like a real Marcy. You know what I mean? Nothing from the reality show.
No.
I tried to. No, it's fine.
You mentioned Housewives. My ears perked up. Which season of Housewives?
Sure.
Which city?
The first reality TV job I ever had was the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 6 reunion. So like the studio where Andy Cohen is like, so tell me what happened. That like on that studio, that was the beginning of my reality careers. That first.
Man, so were you on set that day, or were you? You're
gonna ask me that question like he didn't just get up like that? That was crazy.
Our cat knocked something over.
Awesome.
Our ring light.
It's fine. It didn't phase you at all, and he left like the house was on fire. So I just wanted to check.
Go on, Rob.
That's fantastic.
Well,
the comic in me was like, I can't ignore what just happened in the room.
So were you on set for that, or did you work remotely for that?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, the only remote stuff I've ever done is this Pillow Talk thing. That's pandemic stuff. Yeah. No,
so
I've always been on
those
set.
Those are very long days, like 12 hour days.
All days on all sets are 12 to 14 hour days.
Boy,
unless
tell me about
it's
it,
a very you see, it's they're all like that because you pay the crew by the day usually or the week, and those weeks are comprised of days made of a certain number of hours. So if you pay somebody for 12 hours and you only work 10, You still have to pay them 12.
Paying it for 12.
Yeah. Wow, that could
So they're always full days, and especially on a show like that with the reunion, that is a studio thing. So that was
Rob, I
filmed
wish you wouldn't explain my finances to my partner.
Keep her from asking me the questions, and we'll start there.
After this.
I know the cat was in on it.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question is just general ballpark. How much ends up on the cutting room floor? I mean, that's 14 hours of 12, 14 hours of filming.
Because you would watch all 14 hours, wouldn't you?
3 hours.
You would watch at least 12.
Yeah, I could watch 12, I'm sure.
I think the best way to put it is, and it show to show, it totally depends. But I'll say this. When I was working on Dancing with the Stars, back when we used to actually have cameras in the rooms, because now they do RoboCams with the control room because of COVID.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It was really great to be in the room with them, and we would literally be moving and shooting it as we're producing, which was great.
So, cool.
So when we would shoot that show, they would have, okay, so let's say I was a field, but this is all hypothetical. I'm a field producer on Dancing with the Stars. I'm assigned a couple. I'm given one of the dancers and a celebrity. They're going to be rehearsing for X number of hours a week. And that's public record. You can look that up. It's several hours a day. It's most days a week. They have dress rehearsals on the weekend to get ready for the live show. All their rehearsals, it's my job to film that, because right before they perform on the live show, you see that clip package where it's like, this week, we've got the cha-cha, and they're talking about the cha-cha, and then the dancers going, this
no, it's one. No, it's 1, 2, 1.
Exactly. It's like that.
Here's why I'm mad. I had a 2-step scene that got cut out of Walker tonight. I'm sorry. I'm in the mood to dance.
No, let's go. So we filmed them rehearsing all week. Well, that package is never more than like 2.5 minutes long. At the end of the season, when everybody's been cut, the first episode, those packages are like 50 seconds. So we film for days and days, hours and hours, and that gets turned into a 60-second, 2-minute max package. That's on that show. So on 90 days, it totally depends.
Man, so this is conjuring up like ideas that there's like this Indiana Jones storage facility with like all this like unseen footage that I can someday get my hands on if I just search hard enough. Well, that's amazing. Like, you've brought me personally closer to that world that I've just loved for so long. Now I'm pulling him in.
I have to say, Rob, if she sounds like Kevin Smith right now, it's because she hugged Kevin Smith and it's all rubbed off on her.
I've got
I hugged Kevin Smith once.
Yeah.
Did you tell us?
You get what I'm feeling.
I had that was one of the best days that I've ever had. That was a pretty cool story.
Come on.
So I'm a diehard Kevin Smith fan. Like, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. I found his work way too young when I should not have been watching that stuff. Oh yeah, it was great. I remember I found Mallrats when I was like 9. I think that was one of the first things I saw. And there's like boobs in it. Yeah, and they're at the mall and they're having fun. And I'm like,
to find when you're 9, because it's like,
action,
they're at a mall, which you totally understand and get.
It's so fun. So I was diehard.
Yeah.
I had Banky's hat from Chasing Amy for a long time.
Hey,
so
I'm a lesbian.
It's funny because I moved on later to work with celebrities, and man, once I started doing that, it watered down everything. And when I would meet people, I'd be like, this is cool, but I'm not starstruck anymore. It just went away.
Yeah.
And one day I was in rehearsal on Dancing with the Stars with James Vanderbeek.
Sure.
And he is the coolest dude. He lives in Austin now. He just moved to Austin.
Not only lives in Austin, he's now an HEB spokesman.
That's right.
That's
right. And he just had another kid.
You're not the first guest who has spoken the praises of the Beak.
He's the best. He's a good dude. And he is in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He plays Jay at the end of the movie. And so I saw on like Instagram or something that Kevin and Jay were going to be signing shit at a dispensary like
Oh shit.
3 blocks away from the rehearsal studio. And I was like, and on my skateboard, I was like, man, this is like a dream. I'm going to skateboard over to Kevin Smith at a dispensary and buy some of his weed from Jay and Silent Bob. And I'm going to, you know what? Wait, is this permanently attached?
$15 in my hand.
Get that out. I know, right? I've got my thing over here. I'll show you in a second.
But
But I got him to sign some stuff. And I told James, I was like, I'm going over to see Kevin. I'm going to go meet Kevin Smith. And then he's singing his praises. He's like, oh, Kevin's the best. He starts giving me all these Kevin Smith, like little stories I never thought to ask for. He's like, oh, when I shot the reboot in Louisiana, I was like, what the fuck is my life? Like all of a sudden I'm back in like starstruck celebrity land. I'm like, right? I've been hanging out with James Vanderbeek for 2 months. But at this point I was like, oh yeah, man, this is cool. So I skateboarded over and it was one of the best things. My dad had been sick at one point, and I told Kevin, who had a heart attack, I was like, you know, my dad was sick, and seeing you recover from the heart attack, it was like super inspiring because I've been following you my whole life. I'm a huge fan, and I'm so glad you're still here, and you know, all of this shit. And I kind of got a little emotional. I don't normally like, you know, word vomit. And he could have been like, that's great, man. And like, give me a hug and push me along.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And he like grabbed me by the shoulders, like nobody else was in the room and it's packed with people waiting. And he grabs me by the shoulders and he goes, you got to fucking take care of him. You got to let him know that there's reasons to be here. Keep telling him, keep being the reason why he's here. It makes a difference. I promise. And I was like, okay. And he like took a picture with me and my buddy Kyle and Jay. And I have the pictures. It's like, you can see I'm actually affected in the photos because I was like, he didn't have to do that. No. You know, he could have just pushed me along, but he felt a real moment.
Rob, now I feel like I have to tell you mine because
please.
Because you know, we're at the Paramount. They do the Q&A after the doc. This was 3 weeks ago. Yeah,
about a month ago.
And
I saw he was doing that.
Yeah, it was that doc. Have you seen the doc?
No, I haven't yet. I will.
I mean, we were all boohooing in the theater.
I believe it.
Right.
I get up there and I mentioned to him right after I had a heart attack myself 2 years ago, I met her in the same month. And that to you and I, we had been very big Kevin Smith fans together. So in a way, I guess I traded my hug, my moment.
It was during the Q&A and he was sneaky. He got up into the Q&A like very first person.
And then I poured my heart out.
Yeah, poured his heart out. And so I thought he would just like give us a shout out from the stage, but he just described what he just said, pointed over to me in the crowd, and we were on the floor level, and the spotlight comes down. It was like a movie. It was like a Kevin Smith movie.
Kevin's just the greatest.
The spotlight came down on me, and Kevin like took off, like sprinted off stage, and then popped up like on a side door right near our aisle, and just gave me the biggest hug and asked me like, "Hey, how are you?" And then just embraced me in a way that I was just like, oh my God, I feel so comfortable. I get it all. Just could not have been nicer. And then just wished us well and said, offered to be our ordained minister if we ever decide to get married.
As long as we go to Smodcastle
if we do it in Smodcastle.
Hey, that's a hell of a deal.
Hey, we can do it double. I bet we can get a deal, Rob.
If I didn't already have so much of my damn deposit down, you know,
hang on. I want to get into that now. Now that we're all wiping our eyes for Kevin Smith stories, and I'm the only one who hasn't touched the guy.
Yeah,
that
sorry, man. Maybe someday.
Tell me about This Is Heavy Doc. With you,
sure.
I think sometimes you do it with your fiance, Candace Way.
Yeah. So I love experimental shows. I've had a bunch of different shows that I've played around with. I had a political talk show that was kind of like a Bill Maher style show called Robbing the People.
Very cool.
That I did like 13, 14 episodes of, but it was like really Bill Maher style, and that we did it live on Sundays with an audience here in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
But it was like if Bill Maher was done at your local public access studio. It was like webcam cameras and but it was a blast
about all this stuff after the show. Yeah.
We did a run up to the midterms during Trump's and then into the new year for a little bit.
But how good was the new year, huh?
It was good. Hey, that's pretty good.
So good.
That's solid. Also heard your McConaughey is pretty good.
Was that going around?
I might have heard that.
It's almost a shame McConaughey is not running for governor. You could have taken off with
Lord,
man, the content.
Tell you what.
The
I'll
content.
take a stable state government over your impression. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know
I
about
just have to-
stable state government. Here's what I'm at. Here's the. You got to do an ad for Meadow doesn't want it. You got to do that. Okay.
You just drift off into a surfer mid.
That's how. Have you seen these videos he's putting out talking about?
Yeah.
I'm a statesman.
Yeah.
I want to get into it.
I can't.
I will say a guy I do think has a very bright political future that I'm good buddies with is James. He's Jimmy to me. James Tallarico.
He is a very bright star.
Agree.
We were high school buddies.
Were you really?
That's right. I rep him.
Yeah,
hard
we sat
with
next to
me,
each other in science class.
I would.
We did plays together, and yeah, he's the man.
As an old Texas Democrat who's done over 30 campaigns, I would love to help Jimmy win this new district. I've never called him Jimmy, by the way. Representative Tallarico will get this district because he is the future of Texas, in my opinion.
I believe so too. I rep him hard.
For sure.
He's
We used
definitely
to
like a
say-
homegrown phenom.
We used to joke, as you have with me, when he was a sophomore in high school, we were like, president.
Yeah. Right.
We said it then. It's not even a joke. We were like, there's just something about this
I mean,
kid.
dude, if you can take
Everybody loved him.
dude, it's clear, and it's one thing if they love you. Everybody loved W, but it's one thing if everybody loves you, and then you make all of the wrong decisions. It doesn't really count.
True.
You know?
Yeah,
Everybody
no, and it
loves you,
wasn't
and you
just
can
pure
say that with
charisma.
might.
It was also like a level-headedness that just seemed like he seemed like a 40-year-old
You know,
in a
right,
15-year-old's
exactly. That's
body
what
in a
You
good
need,
way.
yeah,
In a
you
really
have
good way.
to.
He comes off like he's already been president when he talks to the Texas legislature.
And he doesn't feel like he's full of shit. And there's
Right.
so many young cats who are doing
Dude.
their Obama impressions. They're doing their,
There
they're
we
doing
go.
their own version of what they've been inspired by, which I respect to a degree.
Sure.
That's kind of how I felt about Pete Buttigieg. I was like, I don't know exactly what you're. I don't hate the guy. I just when he
No,
ran
I
for
don't hate him.
president,
He's
I was
great.
like,
He's
I'm
great.
not totally sure
Look,
what
here, check it out. Look,
your thing is.
Who am I now? Ready? Who am I now? Hey, I just adopted 2 kids. How are you? I'm Chasten.
Is that
Buttigieg.
Chasten? I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
that's pretty.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
pretty
Okay.
good.
Call Lauren if you have his number.
Oh Lord.
No, but I agree. Like, do you think Pete? That's something we argued about a lot. Like, did Pete come off full of shit to you? Because I worked for a guy that
I
sometimes
zoom. I
came
can't
off-
see it.
Okay, I'll type it to you.
Just
I'll hit
see
it.
it.
Julian Castro, who at times
Oh,
felt
sure.
who felt like maybe he's not as real as
He came off a little cardboard stiff to me, but I never felt
I
like
f-
he would have judged.
I feel like everybody's radar for that is a little bit different. And I don't think it's as easy for us to say like this person looks or feels more authentic or not. I know that my radar for that is like
high.
over calibrated.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting you to be, and I don't know what it's
Part
my
of that-
life
no,
and
part
my
of that's from being a
experience.
comic. Part of that is from
Yeah.
being a comic and working with comics and just
And so and that's why I got so in love with Bernie I was like, I don't know if I agree with every plan he's got, but I know for one thing that when this dude's like, here's what I mean, I'm like, that's what he means.
pretty good.
That's right. That
Yeah.
I don't guess that maybe he's gonna fuck around and change his mind in 30 minutes. And if it is, it's gonna be because he got some new piece of information that's based in the real world.
Right. That brief
Again,
is
like I
important,
said, yeah, it's not all policy. And for me, I go so hard when it comes to politics on like, can I just trust what the fuck you're saying for
Right.
real? Is
Right.
are you going to get in
And
and change who you are?
That's right. And the big blue hint in the room right now is Joe Biden, because who seems more sincere? I mean, I think he has
Sure.
over time been the most folksy of all folksy.
Mhm.
If this dude who's president right now had run for president when he ran, I wouldn't have been so like worried about him
Right.
being
Yeah.
president.
Exactly.
Flippy
No,
He was not this
humble.
guy. He was like some other guy somehow.
Look, hey, you live in LA. I'm a Lakers fan. I know you're not because you're a smart kid. But here's what I'll say is that when Joe was running in that primary, he was fumbling.
Mhm.
And it didn't look good. He was
Yeah.
saying some silly stuff. But all of a sudden, everybody kind of figured out he's ahead of the delegates. South Carolina went for him.
Well, no, everybody realized that everybody quit at the same
Well,
time.
no. But they all. There was a day where they more or less coalesced around Joe Biden around Super Tuesday.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, we know why that happened.
Sure.
Right.
Well, yeah. But hey, look, folks, tell you something right now, guys. That's how it goes. I see. Here's what's interesting to me, and let's not be all fake and all like polite and shit. I could never get into Bernie. And we
Right.
gotten into it. I could never get like to a point where I'm probably a notorious anti-Bernie person.
Mhm.
And it's
I
not-
know that about you, and we've never met.
How do you know that about me?
I've followed your social media for a while.
And you've just seen me.
You know,
being-
like the dozens of videos you put out every day on your social media.
I
You
don't
make it
ever
clear.
shit out there, but I want to make it clear. I don't.
Well, it hasn't been Bernie shitting season in quite some time.
Look, I don't trash Bernie Sanders. I'm not against Bernie Sanders. I just didn't think he was the candidate. Is that?
Yeah.
Sure.
I just feel like
That's
Democrats should get the Democratic nomination. Is that weird? Not independent.
I also think he chose.
Hey, and Dukakis has another thing coming for you, Ross.
I also think
Is that the name of your cat?
What was that?
Dukakis?
Get back over here. He's asking you a question.
No, I'm
You
saying
need water.
I thought since we argued Bernie Hillary, now we can argue some Dukakis and you go for Zongas?
That'll be part 2 of this interview.
How old do you think I am?
Okay, but I do respect I respect where you're coming from now as a Bernie person. I just think that a lot of the Trump stuff could have been avoided had we not had Bernie involved. And
I think we could have avoided it if we had not had Hillary involved.
well, I agree too. And you know what, Rob, we'll play this game all day because I think we could have avoided it if
Sure.
Joe had run that year.
Say that again.
If Joe had run in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like don't you think he would have won that primary if Joe had won? I mean, if Joe had ran.
If it had been Joe, Hillary, and Bernie, or he had been in place of Hillary,
Joe,
because they wouldn't have put up both of them.
Joe,
that would have
Hillary,
never
it would have been
happened.
Everybody.
No, Hillary and Joe Biden would have never run against each other, ever.
Oh, well, that breaks my heart because that means that Obama was like, "Yeah, go ahead, Hillary."
That's right.
Yeah, and I also think
You're like,
Joe-
"Yeah, I'm
and I
hurting
think
you."
Joe came
Yeah,
to
and so was
unite-
Elizabeth Warren, and
That's
everybody
right.
else was like, Hillary, we don't trust this guy. It's got to be you. And then she fucking lost.
She
Yeah.
ran an awful campaign.
We were
Yeah.
riding high off of our first African American president.
terms, right?
We
Look-
thought we could come back for a 2-peat, back-to-back championships, and it wasn't in the cards for us. We
Now,
were
America wanted a
behind the
populist
front.
one way or another.
I do think Bernie Sanders is an incredible senator.
I do.
And
Sure.
look, I think this cat agrees with me.
He's a great congressman overall.
And I agree with what you say is like when he speaks to you, you take it at face value in what he's saying because he's like a septuagenarian.
Right.
Like he's
What's
probably
that,
had this idea for a long time.
He's got
We know
receipts.
these age group it takes to change very difficultly.
Can I?
So I don't think he would be one to flip flop back and
No,
forth
of
and
course
lead
not.
you
We don't need to
astray.
argue Bernie.
So I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you.
We all respect Bernie. Not to do Joe Scarborough on you, Minka, but Rob, I gotta tell you, the other day we got in the biggest fight we've had in months and months around here because I called her Lauren Bobart.
Yeah, as an insult, and I took that
First,
personally, as Michael Jordan would say.
How do you say it right?
Lauren Bobart.
Bobart.
Is it
No.
Bobart? Is that right?
I don't know. Here, put these glasses
Well, I'm
on
glad
and
you
we'll
brought it
call you
up,
whatever.
and now I'm all mad again. It's gonna be a great night.
Here, what I want to ask, because we're running out of time here. What is your thing as a guy who grew up in Austin, grew up in Texas, very political, great political brain? Does Beto have a shot here against Abbott? And I'm acting unbiased. I'm not. Talk amongst yourselves, I guess.
Well, you asked a question.
Yes.
I wish he did. I really do. I think that's a dude who he's like a lot of people in politics that I'm like, I'll take him. He's not as authentic as I want, but I do think if he got in the positions he talks about wanting to be in, that he would do the right thing with enough attention on him. I think he's one of those kind of people, and I'll take that, kind of a Kamala Harris almost. I'm like, if you were to be in the right place at the right time and have the right people barking at you, you'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
But I don't trust that it's because it's what you truly 100% believe in, but that's fine.
I'll tell you what,
the problem is
Tellerico could use this campaign, please.
Oh man, I'd love to get involved. I donate every time he runs. I'm support him. I've been to the events and stuff. He always has my support.
Hey,
I think I'm a little more divisive than he maybe wants to. He's good at bringing people together.
Yeah.
Not so much.
And he has a new district.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. I think what Beto had going for him when he ran against Ted Cruz was Ted Cruz, and I don't think Greg Abbott is hated as much as Ted Cruz. I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of reasons. I really do. And if he can make the abortion and the power grid thing all he runs on, he might win.
The voting thing. Yeah.
No, that won't help. Not across the state.
No,
I don't think so.
You're right. No, you're right. I'm thinking Democratic primary won't have one, but the power grid, I think power grid is the key. That's
people died.
Yeah, no, almost 1,000 people died.
That's right. People died, and where's been the announcement that says we fucked that up and we fixed it? Where's been the announcement that says here's our plan to ensure that's not going to happen again?
Yeah.
Where is the response? All they did was not even apologize.
No,
it's an easy fight to win.
They pushed it on
but
the
I've seen
person and the next person. I mean, we were without water for 2 weeks?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it shocked me how quick, social media wise, that whole event kind of just got buried after about a month.
Because he's good at.
I mean, people were mad, but once
fight.
the power and water came back to everyone, it kind of fizzled out. And I was just shocked because I immediately fast forwarded to November and
right.
Is anyone even going to remember this? And they better.
Right.
Well, the one they will if we have one.
And I hope the people that are running remember and say something, because it's gold depending on what side you're trying to.
No, we're all on the right side here.
So
it's
don't
okay.
forget that 1,000 people, died, and
you're 100% right.
For no reason whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so a bunch of people who make energy money could. Yeah. I'm not worried about freezing to death. I can tell you that.
Anytime soon.
I'll tell you what. I'm worried about Jay Leno getting acting roles. I heard that's happening.
He doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Have you seen him recently? He looks exhausted and sounds exhausted every time, and I don't blame him. Who wouldn't be? I don't He's always like, yeah, well, it's a little, and I'm like, what's that?
My name's I started the Romo Room.
Tell me about the show again, but speak up.
Rob, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight. I think it was very cool to get to talk. It's very rare we have a guest who can not only talk comedy and politics and get me all fired up, but also get deep into the Andy Cohen world from a standpoint of expert who can really just get every demographic of weirdos at home really satisfied.
You said it, man. Rob may be the perfect guest.
He might be. We're gonna do.
You guys are too kind. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. And is there anything going on that you want to plug? Now's the time.
Oh yeah. I never really finished answering that question, which leads into a plug. So this is Heavy Doc is one of the podcasts that I did where we smoke weed and I ask people heavy questions.
Yeah, but it's you.
That is going
Fiance,
to,
right?
Well, I did it with a bunch of people, but I did a full episode with her. My fiance and I. on one episode, and I posted clips of it.
I'm
We were
sorry,
never
I'm
like,
excited. It's a
no,
show
it's
we
fine.
Smoke weed with a host. I'm just trying to figure out where I have to sign up, who I have to send a
We
kidney
can totally have you on the show. We're going to be relaunching a podcast, she and I together. We're going to be doing a show with a bunch of different various segments. It's going to be coming out this month, actually. So I'll get you guys more info on that when we
Yeah.
get it up.
Very cool.
Sounds awesome.
What's the best way to find you on social media? I know you're all over the place.
Sure. Rob Morris Yo on Instagram, and working on my YouTube channel because I'm coming off of doing the Romo Room and working on all the projects for that. So now I'm working on building back up some of the content I'm making myself. Some goofy shit. I'm telling some stories over there. My fiance and I just did a Thanksgiving Friends episode marathon where we watch all the Thanksgiving episodes of Friends and review them and shit. So we're doing some goofy shit like that, just having fun.
Rob, I gotta tell you, man, I love your style. I love what you're doing, man. I also have to add that there's nobody better at humble brag than a guy who started a room in Austin and then is like, yeah, no, I gotta go produce Dancing with the Stars. We'll see you later. Somebody's got to get Tiffany Amber Thiessen to do the cha-cha. You know what I mean?
That would be a dream. Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
hey, well, you'll fight me for it. How about that?
Deal.
You got the energy.
Speaking of the Romo Room in the domain.
By the way,
Yes, please.
only place that does
And
open mics nearly every night.
Is it every night?
Yep.
Every
It's
night.
amazing.
Yeah, there are
four.
I believe our current schedule is 14 open mics a week.
Yes,
And
it's
we have
insane.
shows every single Friday and Saturday, sometimes Thursdays, sometimes Sundays. But yeah, it's every night of the week back there if you're looking for comedy.
That's so dope.
All
Hey,
right, so if you're watching right now or listening,
Rob,
or
I gotta
whatever,
ask you, can you put in a good word
the
for me? at the
Romo
open mic?
Room? I'm gonna yell over you because I'm fucking nervous. I'm not gonna do this on
Hang
camera.
on. Can you put in a good word for me at the open mic, please, Rob?
You got it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
Please
coming
give
on.
him his solo mic. He will talk over you.
Is this what Andy Cohen tells you guys to do? Is this how it's business? Thanks so much.
It seems
Rob, hang on. We're gonna cut it, but I want to make sure.
Thank you guys. It's great hanging tonight.
What does that do?
Thank you
Here,
to Rob
how do you
Morris,
just stop
and
the recording?
I will do that for you.
Stop the recording
Here's-
so we can say nice things to Rob for playing along for so long.
We will.
Come on. Working Mindy over here.
I know.
Good Lord.
Right? Oh, I guess I
See?
can't.
Rob,
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is.